The Detroit Lions projected to have the number 1 overall pick. You fast forward, let's say they do finish the season with the worst record. Kory Wood's joining us, Detroit Lions beat reporter for Woodward Sports. Kory, you have the number 1 overall pick. I'm going to let you take the floor. What do you do with it? Are you taking Kayvon Thibodeaux? Are you taking Aidan Hutchinson? Or are you trading back to a team that's desperate for a quarterback, and maybe you end up with Hutchinson or Kyle Hamilton at 5 or 6? I don't think Hutchinson's going past 3. So if you're going to trade, you can really only trade back 2 spots. And does that team at 3 want a quarterback? And if they don't, well, you're stuck at 1. Or you're not stuck and you trade back. What do you do, Kory?
Whoo! Damn. I'm going to be honest. I'm loving Aidan Hutchinson right now. Dearborn native. Would be a slam dunk pick to get the hometown guy.
Dude, he went to Divine Child. I didn't know that.
Yeah, would be a slam dunk to get the hometown guy, and especially with him playing some of the best football of any defensive player in the nation. But you also got Thibodeaux, who's up for the Chuck Bednarik Award for the nation's top defensive player. And I'm going to be honest, if you're going strictly off of stats alone, Hutchinson is having better numbers, but when you're just looking at the tape, Thibodeaux he's a MFing problem. He's quick. He has a quick burst off the line, great closing speed. Whether it's his swim moves, whether it's dip rips, he's going to find his way to the quarterback. He is for the type of locker room that the Detroit Lions are trying to build, he's a violent type of guy. And you're putting him up with Aleem, Levi, the Okwaras. He could be a slam dunk pick for the Lions at number 1.
Looks like Myles Garrett to me. What do you think?
You said what?
Looks like Myles Garrett to me. What do you think?
Kayvon?
Not bad. I would say he's a little bit quicker.
He's as he's not as huge. Maybe,
but I think Myles was better coming out of college. I think than Kayvon. I think if they were in the same draft, it would go Myles by.
You definitely go Myles. Yeah. I think Kayvon is more athletic. He's more of a freakish athlete to me. But if you're talking about like you want the guy who looks more, I guess you can say pro ready. I mean,
Hutchinson looks like T.J. Watt.
Yeah. Hutchinson looks.
He looks like a guy that's going to, in 5 years from now, have about 62 sacks, and you're going to be like, man, we passed on him. And again, at number 1 overall, you're expecting a Hall of Fame player.
Yeah.
When you draft somebody number 1 overall.
About ceiling.
Honestly, you really cannot go wrong with either one of them. I would not have a problem with getting either one of them for this simple fact. I've seen what Aaron Glenn has done with not the best talent. You give him a guy like this, oh boy, it could get real serious.
We were talking about that earlier. Aaron Glenn has done a phenomenal job all year. The defense, he's working with nothing, and he's putting together a bend, don't break defense.
I mean,
that is impressive.
They're holding guys to like 16 to 20 points.
If you can't win holding teams to 16, 18, 16, 14, and 10, well then, you don't deserve to be winning football games. And Kory, while we have you here, we can transition just a little bit off the pick. What's going on with play calling? They're going in. Is Dan Campbell on an extended week, probably 10, 11 days now? Are they going back to Anthony Lynn? What does it look like going into the week? Or is he taking over play calling for the remainder of the year, and I have to watch that bogus for the next 6 games?
I think that they have to give the play calling back to Anthony Lynn. At this point, you wanted to try something different to see if it worked. It didn't work. They got the tie in spite of Dan Campbell's play calling against the Steelers. It's a bad fit right now. He needs to go back to doing what he was doing, being the emotional leader of this team and of the locker room, and leave the X's and O's to Anthony Lynn and Aaron Glenn. And now if you want to go ahead and move on from Anthony Lynn in the offseason, so be it. But right now, it's the offense looks stagnant. It doesn't look like there's no identity.
Kory,
there's no moving the ball. It's horrible to watch.
Imagine we live in a world where you have a running back coming off of back-to-back 100-yard games, rushing, looks solid. And then what do? The moment Jamal Williams returns on a short week, you give him all the carries in the first quarter.
It makes no sense. I mean, you want to work Jamal Williams back into the offense, fine. I believe you should work Jamal Williams back into the offense. He's your workhorse.
What have the Bears struggled with all year? What have the Bears struggled with all year? Say it, Kory. Say it. What have they struggled with?
I'm not saying it.
stopping the run. They've struggled against backs who are dual purpose, or are dual threats, I should say.
And Swift has been that.
And Swift has been
And they
that.
have no Khalil Mack.
And what was the game plan? We are going to run the ball with Jamal Williams.
With Swift playing some of his best ball.
Best of his career.
So I don't, again, I said it last week. It's almost like you don't want to ask and be disrespectful and say, are you tanking? But it's like the play calling is so mind-boggling, it makes you wonder if it is intentional.
No, you're not.
It makes you wonder.
Yeah,
I
it
have
does.
something extremely
It
special
does.
for you here. Where is it? Here we go. Oh, my goodness. You're going to love this. Play calling. You guys want to talk about play calling? Jared Goff dropped back and threw the ball 25 times. 21 to 25, 171 yards, 2 touchdowns, 0 interceptions. On the 7 passes he threw that were 8 yards or more downfield, he was 5 of 7, 86 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
And you know what?
You were effective. And the other 18 passes that were 8 yards or fewer, 7 being behind the line of freaking scrimmage, you were, what was it? 16 of 18 for 85 yards.
That also really confused me about Goff. I mean, they're saying he couldn't throw the ball downfield.
He was throwing the ball just fine.
I see. When on that
Josh
touchdown,
Reynolds was running
39-yard
comeback
touchdown pass.
He was running comeback routes, dig routes. He looked like a damn wide receiver.
Saw that in person. It was beautiful.
And they continued to throw.
I didn't get it. I'm like, this is the most composed and poised I've seen Jared Goff all season, and you don't let him go out there and do his thing. Why not? It wasn't broke.
Is Kayvon Hutchinson even a tight end, or is he just a lineman?
I'm at this point. You got to wonder. I mean, he's one of your primary targets, and you can't find a way to get him the ball. It's got to be play calling, because we've seen plays when Jared Goff can get those guys the ball. We've seen it.
Kory,
we're not saying he's a good to great quarterback. We've seen that he can game manage.
Yes.
If the play calling is right.
How do I say this? Do you think this is a winless roster? Be honest. I don't think so.
I don't think this is a winless roster.
I think it's a good roster to an extent. I don't think it's as bad as people make it out to be.
I said, what did I say at the beginning of this season? I said this is a 5, maybe 6 win team. As constructed, this is a 5-6 win team. This is not a 0-9. This is not a 0-10-1 team. I'm sorry. You're not gonna convince me of that. It's down to the play calling, and Dan Campbell's gonna have to answer some questions about this, because this is the thing about the Lions this season. Do they have bad players? I don't want to say they have bad players. I don't want to say they don't have the greatest players.
I think they're
not
extremely hurt defensively.
Yes.
And they're missing wide receivers.
But that's not why they're losing games. They're losing games because of bad coaching decisions. If they were just getting blown off the water each week, like, man, this is a bad roster. They can't stop anybody. They can't do anything. That's not the case.
Kory, if you're on the sideline and the Bears are playing press on your wide receivers, do you think it's ideal to run a wide receiver screen? I'm asking a question for a friend. No? Well, what if they're playing 7 yards off the wide receiver? Don't you think that would be a good time to maybe run a wide receiver screen? I thought so.
I got a better question for you. And this is one that really had me kind of confused. Dan Campbell said it and Jared Goff said it. On the 3rd and 32, when they decided to run the draw, they said there's no play for a 3rd and 32.
Pass interference.
That's fine. Why not try to get half of that? Why not just go up? Why not just chuck it up and see what happens? Maybe you get a flag. Who knows? Maybe the guy catches. You don't know.
I don't agree with. I'm sorry, guys, in the chat. Rock, I usually agree with a lot of what you say. Not today. I'm sorry. This is not expansion talent level. You have one of the better offensive lines in the NFL. You have a premier tight end, a premier backfield. Yes, you're missing at the wide receiver. I totally agree. The wide receiving core is not great. Your quarterback is a game-managing quarterback. You can do just fine with him. And your defense is completely obliterated, and it's only given up roughly around 22, 23 points a game. And recently, they haven't given up more than 20, I want to say, in the last 4.
I think the Lions are top, and correct me if I'm wrong, I believe the Lions right now are top 15 in the league against the pass.
Yes.
And that's with undrafted free agents.
And they have totally nosedive in the wrong direction in terms of offense. And what did we say going into the year? The offense is going to be good. A good offensive line, a solid run game, set up Goff with the play action. You've done none of that.
Nothing of that. They've done none of it. They've done nothing to highlight what Jared Goff does well all season long. That's why they're winless. We're not calling him. They're not saying he's better than Matthew Stafford. We're not saying he's better than any of these guys.
I just don't understand how you're 5 of 7, throwing the ball 8 yards or more downfield
and
with 2 touchdowns, and you totally abandon it after the second quarter. You give up on it. It was working. Chicago isn't some world-beating team where they have Jalen Ramsey, and I don't blame you for not throwing the ball downfield. Chicago, they're not any better than you.
Do you think it's incompetence?
I think it's stupidity. I think incompetence is too nice of a word. I think it's stupidity. I think he's in over his head, man. He reminds me of Hugh Jackson. He reminds me of Hugh. Aaron Glenn could call a better offense.
But let me bring this up because I brought this point up earlier. We talked about the Lions this season. They're winless. But in a scenario where they manage to get 20 points in some of these games, they're 5-6 record-wise. So how important is it, because I talk about it all the time, a head coach is only as good as his coordinators. And Dan Campbell, if your offense was able to produce anything at all and they're 5-6, it changes the tide dramatically. I know you probably heard this around the building. Is Anthony Lynn for sure, is he done? Or are they reevaluating that position in the offseason? Because I am so sick of just any play calling. Dan Campbell shouldn't even have to worry about the offense. He should be involved, but that should not. Look at Robert Saleh in New York. I'm sure he's not sitting down drawing up plays with Mike LaFleur. Mike LaFleur handles it. So what are they doing?
For better or worse, I think that Anthony Lynn is going to be the scapegoat when it's all said and done for this offense. Whether anybody agrees or doesn't agree, I believe he will be the odd man out at the end of the season, because they're going to have to change some things. They're going to have to change some things to sell it to draft picks, to free agents, to the fans. Somebody's gonna have to fall on the sword.
Hold that thought. Stick around. We got to go to break. When we get back, we're going to continue this discussion for a little bit in regards to the Detroit Lions. Really, what the Lions should do in the offseason in terms of their coaching staff. But Jeff,